This week I'm looking at a couple of bits that I picked up at the Partisan show last year. You may remember I did a video on it at the time. And basically what it is, it's a small Type 22 pillbox, which I thought I could use on one of my street maps. It's not obviously not going to be a very big project to put together, but nevertheless, it's just been on the backlog waiting to be done, so I'm going to get that done this week. Now, the other thing that I got, I don't know whether you've been to any of the shows, but they sometimes produce like a special one-off model that you can get on the day as a bit of a souvenir. And this year, well, last year's was, I think it's by Stephen, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Blois, is it? Blois. And basically it's a little die-cast model of the King of England, 1135 to 54. And, I mean, it's a lovely little model, as you can see. And I thought, I want to include that, but obviously he is not bolt action, is he? And then the first thing that sprang to mind is, I know, I can use it as a statue. So that's what I'm looking to do today. I'm looking to use this souvenir model from the Partisan show to make a little, I don't know, memorial or statue for the centre of my town. So that's what I'm going to be using. So what I'll do is I'll get this pack open and we'll start by putting this together. Right, I'll just get the dreaded cellophane off and then I'll bring you back. Right, I'll start by popping the base out. Now I'm thinking there's no instructions, but obviously it's only a little kit. But I'm thinking one of the best ways to probably make it is I use that as the base, and then it can be a sealed unit, because then it'll be dead easy to just like lift the entire thing up, put the men in that you want in there, and drop it back down. So I'm guessing that's the way it should be. But right, let's just pop out the walls now. Never throw away much, so you'll see some of these pop up in things again, I know, because I always keep all the little press outs and things from my MDF kits, because they always come in handy for something, even if it's just to make bomb damaged furniture. I mean, that bit that's come out the bottom of the base is going to be handy for a start. I can definitely make a base something on that. Right, let's get these put in place. I'll build it up first and then I'll paint it afterwards. It's relatively simple, so don't need it on that bit, do I? Oh, let's put some in these. Sorry. Sorry about that. The phone rang. The next piece on. Fingers and thumbs. There we go. I think you know who that is again. Mr. Bob. No one's allowed to come down our street without Bob spotting them. Hello, Bob. Right, so I was just testing there to see if you were watching. So I'll get this put right off camera and I'll bring you back. Right, so the last bit is the door. I did consider cutting this little hatch out, but I'm thinking about it now. It'd probably look better if I left it and just left the trace of it, because obviously you wouldn't have it open normally. So I'm going to leave it as basic as it is. Position. Okay. So that's what it looks like in place. And that's it, built really. I mean, obviously, it's a really simple build, so you do that yourself anyway. But what I want to show you really is what I'm going to do to this just to make it mine. Obviously, the first thing I need to do is a basic paint job. So I'll basically take it outside, and I think what I'm not quite sure yet. I'm going to let it dry, but I think, because it looks like a brick built one, and it does say brick on the thing, I'm probably going to spray this a red colour and then overpaint it once it's primed. And then with the top, I'll just go for a concrete type finish or a stone finish. and then we can set about personalising it, as I say, making it my own. So I'll let that dry. But in the meanwhile, I'll just tell you that I've actually started the base and the plinth for my little partisan figure. This my little partisan figure, and unfortunately, I forgot to turn the video camera on. But luckily, I did take some photos as I was going along, and to be honest, they pretty much capture the process. So I'll just put the photos up now, and I'll just talk you through what I was doing. So all I did for the base really was use a bit of leftover blue foam from a previous job, and just using my knife and sandpaper, I carved it and scraped it into the shape that I was looking for the central plinth. And then, as you can see, I'm using bits of leftover MDF kit, using a bit here to make a crucifix for the front. I mean, these little bits really do come in handy. So then I'm just gluing it down to basic base. And as you can see, I've put some half cocktail sticks in there. I'll come back to that. Now I'm just cutting another bit of leftover MDF kit to make the steps. Just cut slices and then stacked them up. Got it to the right level. And then it was ready to glue the top part on. And the cocktail sticks are just to hold it firm, really. Sorry about losing the live film for this one, but as you saw from the pictures, basically what I've done is I've just carved these shapes out of a bit of scrap blue foam that I had, and then a bit like from the sprues from my thing, I've used some old sprue wood to actually build some steps up to it and to put a little crucifix on a mounted plate. And obviously the top piece just went on with cocktail sticks and glue. So that's like the base for it. But what I want to do now is I'm going to stipple it with this polyfiller to give it a stone finish. Obviously I need it to be a fairly light touch because I don't want to overdo it, else I'll obscure the details that I've put on it. So, right, let me just get set up with that, and I'll get a brush and I'll bring you back. Right, I've got a brush, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stipple all of this to give it that stone texture. Right, so I've stippled it all now. As I say, I've not gone wild with it, I've kept it, fairly smooth. Obviously I've got to let it dry. But what I'm going to do in the meanwhile is I'm going to base the figure on the top. And I'm hoping that this super strong adhesive UHU is going to do the job. Place it in the centre. A bit of excess off. So that's what it's looking like at the minute. Obviously what I'm going to do is, as I say, let all this dry first, and I won't spray it with undercoat because obviously it is foam underneath and it might react. I'm not going to take the chance, so what I'll do is I'll just do some hand painted primer first and then paint it to the colour I want it after. Right, so we'll just let that dry. As I say, the pillbox is still drying as well, but that shouldn't be long. And I'll bring you back when we move on to the next bit. Right, so now this is dried, I'm going to use some of this clay coloured paint to paint the brickwork. Right. I'm going to put it on too thick, else it'll obscure the brick pattern. Right. That seems to have covered it quite well actually. I was expecting it to soak in a lot more, but I'm going to let it dry and just see if it needs any more. If I get away with that, I'll move on to painting the door then and the concrete. In the meanwhile, I can right. That's looking like it's got a good coat on it. So I'm going to let them both dry now, and then when they come back, I can pick out some of the detail on the plinth and on the brick shelter as well. I'm not quite sure what to do with the statue yet. I don't know whether to make it a bronze or a metal figure, or whether to leave it as a sculptured figure out of stone or something. I haven't made up my mind yet, so I'll think about that one before I come back while it's drying. Right, I'll set that to dry and I'll be back soon. It's not quite dry yet, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just paint the roof, and I'm going to use some stone golem by Army Painter. I'm going to get a smaller brush for the edges. Right, I'll get the rest of this painted off off camera because I'm sure it's pretty boring just watching me painting away. And I'll bring you back when it's dried. Right, so it's all dried up now. But obviously it's looking a little bit pristine. So I thought I'd try and give it some form of weathering and see if we can improve the look a little bit. It's not really showing up a great deal, but it's just trying to look that fresh paint, knock down that fresh paint look. I don't know whether you can pick up that really, but it's certainly took the shine off it a bit. I'm going to try a bit of that on the brick wall as well. It's looking a little bit less it was just looking a bit too bright. That was the thing that was bothering me. Right, the next thing that I want to do is just add a very dry brush of the gunmetal to the door, just to catch some of the highlighting on the bolts and things. You can just see how it's giving it a slight metallic look now, like it is a reinforced door. Still a bit bright, but I'll come back to that. What I want to do now is get the stone coat on the monument. I think I'm going to go for the stone golem by Army Painter for the base of it. can see the texture now. So I'll do a bit more on the front there. There we go. And I have decided I'm going to go with a metallic finish and then probably bring it down with a wash so it doesn't look too shiny. But I've decided against bronze because I think it just like stick out too much and look a little bit too pristine. So what I'm going to initially do is I'm going to give it a coat of the gunmetal by Army Painter. That's what that's looking like now. As I say, it looks probably a bit too bright at the minute, but when it's dry I'll put a bit of a wash on that to take it back down a bit. Right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set them to dry and then we'll come back for the next bit. Right, this is about dry now. And what I'm doing now is, I'll just show you these, they're very small, I don't know whether you'll see them, but I've painted up a couple of pigeons. Now, there's a story behind this. Basically, I mean, I want to personalise this, and you know how I like to, you know, put a little bit of something in that reminds me of somebody, or, well, these these two pigeons are going to be there for my sister. I know she sometimes watches my videos, and I know she's a big fan of pigeons, so I thought I'd stick these on here just as a bit of a something different. So what I'm doing is I'm just drilling a couple of holes to put these in. Finish that off with a slightly bigger one. I'll dip these into a bit of super glue. Alright, and that's them. As I say, serves absolutely no purpose. It's just something I like to do to some of the models, is to give them a bit of a personal touch. And this one is just for my sister. It's not going to take away from the game, is it, really? A couple of pigeons on there, it's quite natural. And now this one, it's not quite dry yet, so, but I can add this. And what I've got for this one is, a long while ago when I was a teenager, I did briefly have a cat. I say briefly, he was with me for about, I don't know, a year, and then he ran off, so I lost him. But I've not forgot him, and so I'm putting him asleep on my statue. And in case you're wondering what his name was, he imaginatively went by two names, either Cat or Puss. Anyway, that's him there, sat on the statue. Right, I'm going to let that carry on drying now. This, the next thing I want to do to it is I've got a couple of posters. Now I'm going for German ones. I know that's a bit controversial with this being a British pillbox, but it's just the way I want to go with it. But if you want to be more historically accurate, then, you know, just go with British ones. I'm just going to put them on with some PVA. Right, which wall should I put it on? I could put it on this wall. And as I always do with these, I'm going to paste over it with more of the watered down PVA to just give it a bit more of a worn look, so it looks like it's been there a while. You can see how it's starting to just as you're starting to lift the paper off a bit and you're in danger of washing parts of the poster away, that's when you stop, and that'll be fine. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to nibble these edges in, make it look a bit more worn. Bring it up close. And then I'm going to put a little sign next to the door. Just a bit of tissue paper. That looks like that. Look, slanting down slightly. There you go. Now I'm going to let them dry for a little bit, and then I'm going to weather it a bit more with a wash. And the same with this one now. I'm going to let this one dry a little bit, and then we'll give that a bit of a wash as well. So I'll bring you back when they're dried. Right, I think they've dried enough now. What I'm going to do, as I said, I'm going to use some wash. I'm going to use this Soft Tone by Army Painter. But I don't really want to brush it on because I don't know whether it's going to look very good. It might look a bit too, I don't know. You can see the brush strokes. So what I'm going to try, I mean I've never done this before so this might not work, is I'm just going to put a little bit of it on this bit of paper towel. Let it soak in a bit like a dry brush really, and then I'm going to dab it on instead. Maybe should have gone straight for it a little bit, but I think it's working. It's putting a, well, you can see that it's very subtle. I'll probably do it a bit quicker next time, but it don't look like it's been brushed on, and that's what I wanted it not to do. So you can see it now, it's building up. It looks quite effective. It looks more, you know, like it's been rained on and that's brought the muck in the rain onto the top. Yeah, persevere with it. It's worth trying it. That's looking a lot better. Just got the, I don't know, how would you describe it? Just the right amount of grottiness, shall we say. Right, I think I'm going to call that one complete. And let's have a look at statue. I think with this one I might get away with a soft brush. Got a little container that I can just use this one. No, it looks like I'm going a bit heavy at the minute, but I'm going to wipe it off. That's better. Around the other side. Let that dry now. That's how that's looking. As you can see, it looks a bit more tarnished now, the metal. Looks a bit more like it's been there on the street. I mean, if I've got it alongside any damaged buildings, it'd look too pristine if I didn't, dress it down a little bit, because obviously all the dust and everything that would have been thrown around by battle, it would have got everywhere. So if this stood out as bright white, it would have looked out of place. I think that looks quite reasonable now. Right, I'll let that dry and then we'll wrap this one up. Right, so they're complete now. Sorry, I ain't got much road to put it on to base it because I put it all away. But yeah, they look quite effective. I can imagine they'd look good on the real roads. So I'm just pleased to have got something else off my to-do list, really. And it looks quite good with the soldiers, so I think it'll work well when it's in a town setting. Same with the pillbox, really. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've found something of interest in it. If you have, please consider giving me a thumbs up. And if you want to watch some more like this, please, consider subscribing. Anyway, I'll see you again soon. Bye.